Hello, welcome to your weather forecast. Today is Saturday, October 18th, so if you're watching this Sunday or Monday, this is context, and this section is probably going to be irrelevant, so go to the tropical section in the second half if that's what you're looking for. So we are starting out with looking at our SPC convective outlook as we have a level 2 out of 5 slight risk stretching from southern Illinois down into Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. Our marginal risk stretches up into Michigan and down to the Gulf. And this is driven by a 5% tornado risk in about the same area as a slight risk. Maybe not the same exact area, but it does stretch into Michigan again and down to the Gulf. Our wind risk is our main driver today, as we do have a 15% large risk. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a small area where we do have an enhanced risk today, which would be a 3 out of 5. But we do have our 15% wind risk, and our 5% again stretches up into Michigan, southern Michigan there, and over to Ohio, and East Texas is where that is. In that same area of the slight risk, if you're in this area right here, you got to watch for the storms. You're pretty much guaranteed to get at least some sort of thunderstorms today. Now, over here, we have a 15% risk for some. This is for larger hail, so that's actually what this means. Tornado is just general tornado. Wind is for significant wind. Hail is for significant hail. So, if you're not very familiar with it, that's what all that means. Now, here's what the radar could look like as we head into today. Starting off, right now we do have, or earlier this morning, we have some rain moving out of Michigan. That's going to move out quickly. We have our front moisture here, and this is going to let down through South Dakota, Nebraska, and slowly into Iowa. This will combine with our main system later. And our main system has already developed, as we can see with our composite radar. It's over here in Oklahoma and Texas, so there's that. But this is going to eventually expand as we head east. Centralized around Arkansas, we're going to have some stuff in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama today. Further north, you're going to get some prefrontal stuff actually. Up here in southern Michigan, northern Indiana, and southern Indiana, we're going to get also some prefrontal stuff. And areas in the Great Lakes, we're going to get a lot of that rain. Here in the middle, it looks like we're going to be quite serious until we get further east, where we're just going to get general thunderstorms. Where we're really going to watch for late tonight and into tomorrow morning is down here in Mississippi, Alabama, as we will have a line of storms. And this will eventually move out, producing some light thunderstorms as we head into tomorrow, and eventually, later on, it'll move out to sea. Now, here's what's actually causing it. As we have a dip in our jet stream here, and this is producing a pretty small, actually, dip here. It's not actually very significant what's producing it, but it's going to get very significant as we head into later this week, as we head into Sunday and Monday. And this trough will eventually move out. And this active pattern is going to continue as we have a long-lived big trough here, and that moves out, and we have another small disturbance before we have a giant disturbance here, which is kind of, it actually becomes a cutoff low pretty much as we head in. But if it happens like this, we could have some decent severe weather over here in the plains as we head into early, not next week, but the week after. And eventually it seems like our jet stream pattern is going to change, as we might have a pattern with a ridge in the west, a big trough in the east. This would produce some crazy stuff. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But this is, again, 16 days out. Now, over the next little bit, we do have some decent precipitation. We're going to get about 2 to 4 inches in some generalized areas stretching from Mississippi through central Illinois, Indiana, southern Michigan, and up into Canada. Otherwise, you're going to get maybe half an inch to 2 inches down here in the south. Now, here's what our future moisture is going to look like. This is our big system as we head into early tomorrow and late tonight. And this is going to produce some decent severe weather. Maybe some slight cool as we have some cooler air dipping in. And eventually, as we head into Tuesday, this system is going to move out. But we do have another system with a potent little cold front here, and that is going to produce some general rain, maybe even some lake effect rain. As it's not cold enough for snow, and the lakes are still quite warm with this cooler air coming off. And this is going to be kind of a precursor to what happens usually in November and December with these cold fronts bringing lots of lake effect. And we have it maybe a little disturbance, and this is a pretty interesting disturbance as that moves off. And closer to the end of this, it ends up producing this big snowstorm up here in Canada and a trough of cold air there. This is pretty far out and probably not going to happen. That's actually our 60 run, but this is what it looks like in our most recent run, where we actually do have that cutoff low there and a big front bringing so much lake effect snow. Just ignore that. That's so far out. But it is something to watch because that is a more wintry pattern, late fall, winter. Now, our temp anomaly over the next little bit is going to look pretty interesting as we are going to have a little bit of a cold front move through and another cold front move through as we head into the middle of next week. And this should actually last prolonged in some areas, but the south should get it pretty quick, and it should start being warm more in the plains, whereas the west is going to start getting cool again, and eventually we're going to have a pretty serious cold blast according to the GFS. Moving on to our next model that I like to look at is our Euro model, and this one again showing that big storm. This is going to move out around Tuesday, maybe last some fringe effects into Canada into Wednesday, but we're going to look more at this little weather system here on Wednesday here, as this will bring a small cold front in the Midwest. Now, we're going to continue having lots of these storms along the West Coast as we head into late month. This is definitely something to watch. And these storms, again, this is showing a big weather system as we head into early parts of the week after. And again, a wintertime like system in like around Halloween time, I guess. This system is actually kind of weird. It like traps this cold air in. Let's actually see what that looks like on our temp anomalies, the European version. Again, we're going to see our cool air come through and a second one, and then it should get warmer as we head further out. Looking further out, then we get our heat, and eventually the European does show a pretty big cold front as we head closer to Halloween time, and it like keeps these below average temperatures locked down in the south for a couple days. So I think cooler air is definitely going to happen sometime in the next couple of weeks, but it's still undetermined what that's going to look like. Now moving into the tropical portion of our forecast. This is my favorite part to break down because I think this has had decently good trends away from the US. So here's the actual truth about this upcoming storm. Starting off with our bullish GFS, it wants to form a system over here and a system over here. This is the wave that we're really going to be watching. This one should be pretty much ignored. I don't really see this one developing. Now, the GFS wants this one to go right over the Dominican Republic as we head into late next week. And it just stalls it, bringing extremely heavy rain. And then makes it go to the north. And then there's a second tropical system. This would be kind of worst case scenario, I would say. Explosive development there. Wow. But again, that's probably not going to happen like that. But it does keep it away from the US. Now, a little other tropical area to watch for maybe a name is this area here. I don't really see it gaining a name, honestly. I think this thing is going to stay untropical and leave out of here. It's no threat to land whatsoever. Now, here is our second model here. I do want to break this one down as this is also our most trustworthy of our physics-based models. And I've liked it this year. Last year, didn't like it. This year, I like it. And it actually doesn't show anything developing. I like this. It shows it just bringing moisture over here into Central America. Now, here's what our Canadian model shows. Shows it moving in, and it actually gets it somewhat well-defined as it tries to get west. Maybe a tropical storm as it goes that way. And then it tries to move to the north. This model doesn't go quite far out. It goes, I believe, 240 hours is 10 days out. So the European goes out 15 days. The GFS goes out 16 days. So this one doesn't quite go out as far. But it is something also to watch. Even if it's not as much of a trustworthy model. Now, this is a great model for a deterministic AI model here. And good news here, it doesn't really want to develop it. It wants to maybe develop it here, but it pretty much makes it nothing and brings moisture further west. This is the best case scenario. And a scenario I hope will happen. But again, as we see closer to the end of the model run, we are trying to gain a low pressure system. And just for sake of consistency, what is it showing on a 0Z run? It's still not showing development until way later. Now, this is my favorite model, and there's been... Some have said it's actually better than the SPC, than the NHC tracks. Although it might not be like that for this system, it's still quite far out. And you can see with our ensembles here, it doesn't like to have a lot of them form. It forms a couple, making a couple strong, keeping some weak, takes some out that way, puts some into Central America, and makes the rest stall and then get take out. But again, there's no run whatsoever for the US. Now, even back on this run, as you can see here, we don't even have one here. This one may go up here in this run, but still, this I don't think is a threat to the US. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.